welcome to the Let's Think About It podcast, where we embark on a journey of thoughtfulness and personal growth. I'm your host, Coach Mo, and I'm here to guide you through thought-provoking discussions that will inspire you to unlock your full potential. In each episode, we'll explore a wide range of topics from self-discovery and mindfulness to goal setting and achieving success. Together, we'll challenge conventional thinking and dive deep into the realms of possibility. Whether you're looking to find clarity in your personal or professional life or seeking strategies to overcome obstacles, this podcast is your go-to source for insightful conversations and practical advice. So find a comfortable spot, chill, and let's embark on this journey of self-improvement together. Remember, the power of transformation lies within you, and together we'll uncover the tools and insights you need to make it happen. So let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of the Let's Think About It podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mo, and I'm here with another amazing guest. Her name is Cheryl Polk. Cheryl, what's good?
Everything is good, Coach Mo, today. Glad to be here.
I'm happy that you're here. We need to know where you're checking in from. What part of the country are you calling in from?
Yes, I am checking in from Music City, aka Nashville, Tennessee.
That's what's up. I've never been to Tennessee. What's one of the favorite aspects of living in Tennessee? One of your favorite aspects?
I would say the beautiful scenery. We have wonderful waterfalls. And then, of course, just having live music at so many places around the area, wherever you go. So I just love the music vibe and the scenery.
I like that. But what's the vibe on the barbecue, though?
Memphis is more known for the barbecues. I won't really speak to the barbecue because I'll leave that to the people in Memphis, but it's a good barbecue in some places around here.
That's what's up. Okay. With that being said, tell my audience who you are, what you do, and the type of value you bring.
Yes, I am a holistic life and career coach. And my motto is improve your career, improve your life. So I believe that so many aspects of our lives are affected by our careers. So I help people with career identification, skills development, interview preparation, resumes, and other personal branding strategies, and then also career transitions. And so I enjoy doing it. I help people, students and adults at all ages and stages.
All right. So that sounds like you bring a lot for a good amount of people out there. And I'm sure your services is great. But how did you evolve into a life coach and a career coach? Take me through that journey.
Absolutely. So when I graduated with a degree in accounting, and when I graduated, I had a few interviews, but I couldn't land any because I had a lack of self-confidence because of a lack of experience. And because of that, I ended up starting off working as a temp through a temporary agency. Now, thankfully, because of my good work ethic and because I got in with a large company, I ended up progressing in 5 years to being over the general accounting department for a division of a Fortune 500 company. But I could have made so many strides earlier if I had the tools that I needed. And so I ended up taking a short sabbatical to stay home with my children. And when I went back, I decided I wanted to do something a little different. So I applied to a recruiting position on a Friday. And to my surprise, they called me on a Monday. And also to my surprise, I got the job and ended up loving it. But what I didn't enjoy was the fact that I had so many qualified candidates whose resumes I couldn't pass along because they had sentence structure errors or spelling mistakes and they just didn't look professional. And so I ended up spending more time tweaking people's resumes than actually sending out candidates to hiring managers. So I ended up becoming a certified professional resume writer and then later on a career coach. So I can help people really gain more focus and put their best foot forward.
I understand there's a lot that goes into the hiring process, but I'm going to look at it from me trying to get another job or the consumer client trying to find another job, what's your approach, your initial approach that's taking a person from point A to point Z? What does that look like in that hiring process and recruitment process for them?
Okay. From the recruiting side or from the career coach side?
From the customer side, from the person that's looking for the job.
Okay, so the first thing they need to do is have a great resume. So they need to have something that's achievement based. We want to show that they are an achiever, not just a doer. So we want to have quantifiable data, any numbers, dollars, and percentages they can put on the resume would be great. And then any way that they've improved the company, the department, or made their job better in any type of way. And then next, that will be interview. They will, once they land an interview, we help them with the interview as well. Help them because just with real estate, they say the number one thing is location, where with interviewing it's preparation. So I really help them to develop their brand, help them with their storytelling so they can clearly communicate the situation, the tasks, the action taken, and the results. And then also, of course, they follow up with a thank you letter. We also do help with salary negotiations as well. And then sometimes if people lack focus, we even help with career identification and career transition. So sometimes even before we get to the resume stage, people need a little help on the front end to really identify what they want to do next.
So this is let's think about it. So I always try to put myself in the shoes of the audience and with my questions. So here's what's coming up for me. I'm in a midlife career change and I'm scared as hell that I'm not going to be accepted. I got to start over. I haven't been through this process in decades and now I find myself here. I'm worrisome about this process. What is it that you do that separates you from other recruiters, competitors, career coaches? What separates you in helping someone overcome that fear to take action and move toward putting themselves out there?
Yes. Mindset affects movement, right? What we like to do first is identify those limiting beliefs. A lot of people have self-doubt, a lot of people have fears to overcome. And so if someone is in that space, that's what we want to tackle first. And then when you identify that limiting belief, next thing we have to do is challenge it. Where do we get it from? Is this something that was just passed down to us, that we come from a negative household? Is this some type of negative self-talk that we've always had? And then figure out, is there any real evidence to support this limiting belief that they may have? And then next, we try to help them reframe their thinking. Now, it's a scientific fact that we cannot hold two thoughts at one time. But a lot of times we have so many thoughts coming at us at one time, we have those negative thoughts that overcome those positive thoughts right after they happen. So it's just knocking that positive thing out of your mind right away. So we want to flip that. Whenever those negative things come into mind, we want to have an action plan to be able to overcome those negative thoughts with positive thoughts, whether it's positive affirmation, helping people with positive affirmations, or just becoming more mindful of those thoughts and that type of thing. And so just really developing an action plan to be able to change that cognitive thinking process. And then after that, we help them develop an action plan, help them figure out what are their short-term and long-term career goals. And then we are that system for support and accountability for them, so they can be able to have someone to hold their hands and to partner with them as they go through their journey.
Yeah, that's great. Through your experience working with the clients that you work with, what are the common limiting beliefs that you see that just comes across your desk when you meet with various clients? What's the common limiting beliefs that you hear and see from people?
Yes. Good question. I would say one common limiting belief is fear. A lot of times people are it's the fear of failure, then also the fear of success, and also the fear of the unknown. Some people are really afraid just to step out of their comfort zone and do something new. Also, too, people have a fear of income because often when we're making a career transition, we have to take one step back in order to go two steps forward. And sometimes we're in so much debt that we can't take a step back because we're like, oh no, I have to continue to pay these bills and I want to continue on this lifestyle. So they can't make that change. And as a matter of fact, just today, I'm doing healthcare recruiting currently. And so I called someone today. He actually had a bachelor's degree in health science, but he was working at Publix. And this was an entry level healthcare role. And it actually was paying a little lower than what he was making at Publix. But the thing is, I tried to help him see the long term goal and not just consider, okay, this is the short term. Yes, this is better than the short term, but what is your long game? Where are you really trying to go? And then because that way, yes, you might have to make a sacrifice right now in order to have what you want in the future. Those are some of the limiting beliefs. And then also too, imposter syndrome. Sometimes people they have a issue believing that it's what they deserve, is where they're supposed to be. And so just help them to just get rid of some of those negative thinking patterns that have just been so ingrained in them for so long.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. Because I'm more like in tune with the how, right? So when I work
Mhm.
with my clients and they have certain limiting beliefs, assumptions, interpretations, or that negative inner talk, inner voice, right? I help them rediscover their values because in that moment, when these limiting beliefs are present, your values aren't because you're distracted away from it. The forefront of that limiting belief is leading the way,
Right.
and you're responding to that, right? And the response to that fear, frustration, anger, whatever, right? And so my approach as a coach is how do we reconnect with the values? And just giving certain little activities, providing activities that helps them refocus towards their values. And then when they can do that, they start getting back their power of choice. Then they can start to navigate. So
Right.
in the spirit of the work that you do, how are you helping people connect their values for the next job that they're applying for? Or is that part of your program?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have a four-step program. And so the first step would be discovery. That's really doing a personality assessment, finding out the natural way you give and receive information, digging more into who you are and why you want to do something different. What brings meaning to
Right.
your life? Like you said, your value system, finding out about what you're passionate about. And then next would be the investigation stage. And that's digging into more careers and the different career paths that are available to you. And then next would be the planning stage. And that's really more of the logistics of the when and the where. And then lastly would be execution. That's the how. And so we get started with executing the plan and then reevaluate to see if there's anything that needs to be adjusted. So you're exactly right. It starts with that knowing your why, knowing why it is, knowing your purpose, what your passions are, your skills, your talents, your gifts, and how that all comes together into helping you be a complete person physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and socially.
That's great. That's great. Help me understand what's the target audience that you help.
So I would say students and adults at all ages and stages, so 18 and up.
Students of all ages. So, is your approach with someone that, let's just say, graduating out of high school and looking for a job, is that
Mhm.
approach different than someone who's in their mid career and trying to find a different job? And what would be the different approach if they are?
Yes and no. So we still go through all the phases. However, someone who is brand new, they may have a little less to pull from as far as their experience. With someone, I would say mid-career, they know more of what they don't want. And because they've done it. It's okay, been there, done that. I have the t-shirt. That's what I don't want in my life. Whereas someone who's 18 might not necessarily have as strong of a reference point. However, they usually have some type of reference point. And what I like to tell parents, teachers, school counselors is to take the pressure off. A lot of times people change careers 4 to 5 times throughout their careers. And sometimes when you have that pressure, people put a lot of pressure on these young people to choose one thing. This one thing you're going to do, and you're going to do it throughout your life. Whereas we both know that's not the case, right? And because I've changed careers a couple of times, and you probably have as well, and most people have. And so letting them know, okay, it's okay. This is just career one. And so when we have people think of it as this is career one, then it takes off the pressure, and they're able to really breathe and to really say, okay, let me look at some things that I'm naturally good at. What do people come to me for? What is it that I can teach or do right now if I didn't get any further education? What pain do I have in my past? Because sometimes pain can actually construct our path. A lot of times I went to a mental health conference, and the people there had overcome a lot of mental health challenges, and they were talking about this. And interesting enough, a lot of people there had decided to become counselors and psychiatric nurses and people in that mental health space. So sometimes even the pain in our past can help to direct what our future paths are. So you're just looking at the whole person. And so, yes, sometimes it is a little different, but a lot of times the challenges are still the same.
Okay, that's great to know. So then take me through the process, how you help someone prepare for an interview that's entry level versus someone that's maybe mid-career executive level. Is there a difference?
Maybe or maybe not, depending on, because remember, just because someone has been working for 10 to 15 years does not mean that they're ready for that next level. Or it does not mean that they have been properly trained in how to interview, in what to wear, in looking at someone in the eye and having that firm handshake. So we assume that this is just something that a student might need to know, but really this is something that someone who's 35, 40 may need to know, depending on if they're transitioning from one type of career to another. We look at those type of things. And also, too, I love to do mock interviews. That's where I give them a series of questions, take notes, and give them feedback at the end, and then really help them to identify their stories. Because now the big thing is situational interviews, and they want to know about challenges you've overcome. They want to know about process improvements you've made, any type of ideas that might have been adopted with your company or from your hiring manager. They want to know about interactions with coworkers. They want to know about things that you've overcome and challenges that you've overcome and how you've made your job better. And so we really help to define those stories so we can have people be able to tell about the situation, be able to really set up that story, tell about the situation, the task that they had to undertake, the actions that they took, and then the results. And that helps them to really streamline their answers so they can hone in on the important parts and really keep it concise and to the point and make sure it's more effective.
Cheryl, that's great. Everything that you said is on point, and I really do appreciate that. But then I'm going to put myself again in the listener's seat, right? And I'm saying, you know what, Cheryl? I do all of that you said. I do all of that. I practice this and I do this and I do all of that stuff. But when I get in there, I'm nervous as shit. I'm sweating. My hands are shaking. My voice is crumbling. All of this. How do you help me manage that as a coach? Because the mock stuff, rehearsing, memorizing what I'm going to talk about, I got that on lock. Where I struggle at is the nervousness and controlling the fear that's going into the interview. What tips do you give to your clients around that aspect of interview prep?
Yes, I would say personalize anything, any type of advice anyone has given you. Because yes, I can give someone advice, but they have to make it personal to them and they have to do what's natural for them. For example, I was always taught that when you interview, you want to sit on the edge of your seat and don't sit back and try not to use your hands a lot. However, for me, that just did not work. Energetic, I'm an extrovert, and I have to get my energy out some type of way. So if you interview better moving your hands, then move your hands because it's better than taking that interview. So move your hands. If you need to sit back a little further, feel a little comfortable, do what you have to do to feel comfortable, as long as you're still staying in that professional space. And then also before you go into that interview, take some deep breaths, do whatever it is for you that relaxes you, whether that's motivational music, it could be some upbeat music, or it could be some calming music. It could be a prayer, it could be some meditation. Know what works for you. Try out different things and what works for you. But usually, most people, if they have prepared, they're usually a lot better than if they have not, because they've helped work out some of those kinks. So the more practice, the more you do it, the better you get. So practice with friends, practice with family members. And a lot of times you mentioned sometimes people have things memorized. That's often the issue, is that they have it memorized. And so I try to get them not to have it memorized, but just just know your general outline, your problem, your action, take your results. So that's the thing that guides you. And then when you get there, you can just organically fill it in, but know your highlights, know your action points, and then fill it in when you get there. And then when you practice those interviews, practice out loud. A lot of times when we practice, people just read it. They write their answer, then they just read it and they rehearse it, but they don't practice saying it out loud. So look in the mirror and say it out loud so you can hear how it sounds and how you can practice it.
Listening to you, going into the interview, it's about setting intentions for yourself. Because if you know you get nervous, what's the offset of that? What's the plan to address the nervousness when it happens?
Yes.
When you have that intentions on the forefront of your mind, it's easier to navigate that when it does happen, because you know it's going to happen. And in that moment, there's your choice. I'm going to pivot when it happens. And then from an interview perspective, going in as the interviewee, one of the things that I teach people is, and maybe it's a little bit higher level than the entry person, because leaders, we focus on certain leadership competencies and things like that. But I teach the 4 C's: communication, coaching, collaboration, and commitment. You apply those 4 C's in any question that's asked to you as a leader, you're really demonstrating these leadership competencies. Anytime that I get a question that I'm fumbling on, I go to the 4 C's and I take them through the journey of communication, collaboration, coaching, and a commitment. And through that journey of the experience of whatever it is I'm talking about, I'm hitting those 4 C's. And it addresses key leadership competencies that most organizations want to see in their leaders. So I help inject that into people who are going on interviews. And I'm not a career coach, but it's a tactic that I use that's been very favorable for me. And 9 out of 10 times, I'm always one of the top candidates in the second interview and things like that, because I use that strategy. What are your thoughts about something like that, for not necessarily the 4 C's, but a certain technique that people can take and use going into an interview? What would you share?
Yes, I would say, as far as a technique, number one is be yourself, right? A lot of times we're trying to be someone we're not. So just be just be yourself. That's the number one thing. Be yourself, and then prepare. And then know yourself, know your company, know the value that you bring. And when I say know yourself, know your resume. A lot of times people assume that the hiring manager remembers what's on their actual resume, when a lot of times they're coming directly from a meeting or they're having back-to-back interviews and they barely know who's in front of them. So it's totally okay to communicate what's on your resume. And a lot of times we put wonderful achievements on the resume and people forget to say it when they get in there. So know your resume, know the value that you bring, know the company, make sure you do your research. Make sure you look at that website. Make sure you know that what values are important to them and how those values align with you. And then know about their competitors. Look Also, to see if there are any new press releases. Companies merge all the time. They have layoffs, they have new hiring initiatives, they have all types of new products that are being released. So, know the company. So, yeah, those are the three things I would say: know the company, know the value you bring, and then know your resume.
What's the difference in interview in a one-on-one versus a panel? Do I need to change my approach going into one situation versus the next?
I would say your general approach would stay the same as
Okay.
far as the preparation aspect. But you want to know, because we talked about knowing, right? You want the, so that would add a fourth one, which would be know who's in the room. So if they tell you who's going to be in that panel or on that panel, make sure you do your research as well on them. It's totally okay to look up their LinkedIn profile, their Instagram, to see a little bit more. Learn as much as you can about the people who will be interviewing you and what interests them, because that can help you really to build rapport. And then, of course, you'll need to really make sure you're giving eye to eye contact. You'll need to make sure your eyes are scanning the panel as opposed to just looking straight ahead, because you want to people to have that one-on-one connection. Those would be the things I would say are different. Knowing your panel, knowing what type of interview it is. Sometimes with IT people, the first interview might be more technical, and then the second one may be more of a situational type interview. And just really getting to know the people on the panel and doing your research on them as well and the company.
How does one approach tough interview questions?
I will say just, you know how you said develop that plan? That's the number one step, right? So when someone catches you off guard, be able to rebound quickly. And it's okay to say, that's a great question. May I take a moment to think about that? That is totally okay. It's okay if you need to take that moment and step back and to regroup, because you're never, even though you might prepare, you're never going to be prepared for every question. There still might be a few questions that are new that take you off guard, and it's okay. And just take that moment and get your answers together and then articulate the best you can. And the big thing is don't let it break you, right? So a lot of
Right.
times people go in and they're so excited and they're prepared and they have their energy up. But then once we start asking those questions and it's something that they weren't prepared for, then I see the energy start to shift. It starts to reduce and go down. So I tell people, just know there are going to be some curveballs in there. There are going to be some things you aren't prepared for, but that's okay. Just still
But
keep that positive self-talk. Says
where the four C's come in, that's what I'm talking about. When that curveball is thrown in, whatever you're going to come up with, make sure you incorporate communication, collaboration, coaching, and commitment. You do that, you're safe. You're safe because you're hitting those key competency areas. Another thing that I want to throw in there, and I don't know if you share this with your clients or not, but it's okay to bring in notes, because anytime I get an interview, they don't tell me, no, you can't bring in notes. So what I do is I create a list of experiences that I want to connect to potential questions that I think that they will probably ask. So I'm already thinking there may be a question about who I am. Why do I qualify for this position? There's that question. Then there may be a question, just depending on the level you are at, right? Let's say I'm talking mid-level and I'm going into management. Let's just focus in that area. There's going to be a question of how I deal with conflict. Tell me about something around working with a customer or a client, something around there. Tell me something about collaboration. Tell me about something about developing and training or leading a team. Something, there's going to be something around there. Tell me about a time when you had a disagreement with a worker or a manager and how was it resolved? I'm thinking of those. Being intentional, like I said, right? I'm thinking of those things and I'm itemizing my experiences. So when I'm in the interview, and this is what keeps the anxiety down, the nervousness down, because I'm being intentional, like I said, right? So they're going to ask these questions. Give me a second. Let me take my breath. Let me look at my notes. Bingo, I'm going to hit experience number 4. And it's right there. I'm not fumbling. I'm not nervous because it's right there on the sheet, in which there's no rules that says I can't bring this into an interview. And so I just tap into my cheat sheet for myself to help me remember all the different experiences that I'm very comfortable of talking about. And that way, I'm not going in there just completely off memories trying to think of the experiences. They're all jotted down for myself. And whatever questions you come at me, I'm either coming with the 4 C's, I am coming with the 4 C's, and I'm tying in one of these 10 experiences that I got on my cheat sheet. And then I'm setting myself up for success because I'm not as nervous as I would be if I didn't have this information. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't necessarily encourage a cheat sheet, but if they do have one, I will say for them to put little keywords there instead of writing out too much information, because sometimes when you're looking at a cheat sheet, that can even throw you off because it's okay, where is that in my notes? So if they do have a cheat sheet, it should just be a brief keyword. Maybe it could be something like the title of their project that they wanted to mention, or a client that they wanted a client's name there that can help them jog their memory about the story surrounding that client. So notes are fine as long as it's not like long, lengthy notes, because those can actually throw people off. So I would say just
absolutely.
Little keywords are totally fine as far as notes. And then that way you're just doing a quick check. And just like when I said, it's okay to let them know, okay, oh man, take a moment, man, have a second, and then just look down really quickly and then re-engage.
Absolutely, because it's just like doing a presentation. When you write all your notes on the sheet to try to do a presentation, the tendency is to read everything on the note sheet, and it doesn't make you look as authentic as you approach the presentation. So when I was referencing the cheat sheet, it's really not a cheat sheet because there's no rule that I can't bring in notes. So it's not really cheating, but with my notes, just like you said, that's what I meant. Having my experience itemized all the way down because I rehearsed them and I know them because they're my experiences. I didn't use Chat GPT to write it up for me. Then if you do something like that, then you're definitely in danger because that's not your true experience. But the itemized lines is just a reminder, hey, talk about this experience. Because that's something I walked through, been through, done that, and I can remember that. That's what I meant.
Absolutely. And it's definitely better to do that than to get back to your car and say, oh, I forgot this. Like how many times have we done that? We've gotten home and, oh, I forgot, I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot to say this. I forgot to say that. I forgot to say that. So yes, it is totally fine that they have a few notes written down. And then also too, you might have a few questions written down too, that you might want to reference at the end. So that's totally fine as well.
Absolutely. So as we wrap this up, how can you be found?
My primary platform is definitely LinkedIn, right? As a career coach, that's the number one tool for recruiters and job seekers. So LinkedIn, I'm there as career coach Cheryl P. And then my website is excel-resumes.com. And that's EXCEL with a little dash or hyphen, RESUMES.com. And then I'm on Instagram as USA Job Search Coach.
Thank you for that. Any lasting thoughts before we sign out?
I would just like to say, don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of times we've been taught to just do it all ourselves. And it's okay to have mentors. It's okay to have coaches. It's okay to have friends, because someone needs to be there to help support you, help cheer you on. And so it's totally okay.
There it is, you guys. There it is. Miss Cheryl Polk, thank you so much for your presence and your wisdom today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Coach Mo. It's been fun. I enjoyed it.
It has been. Thank you. Take care. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Let's Think About It. Your time and attention are greatly appreciated. If you found value in today's discussion, I encourage you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, the journey of self-improvement is ongoing, and I'm here to support you every step of the way. Connect with me on social media for updates and insights. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Coach Mo Coaching or LinkedIn at Maurice Mabry. Or visit my website at mauricemabry.com for exclusive content. Until next time, keep reflecting, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Remember, the most effective way to do it is to do it. Together, we're making incredible strides toward a better and more empowered you. So thank you, and I'll see you in our next episode.